Hi there, it's Steph. Thanks for popping on my channel. Today I'm sharing with you 3 cards I made using the Lawn Fawn stamp set called Plus One. I started by die cutting all my pieces, my rainbow pieces, and then I also cut some cloud pieces, which you will see again afterwards. I started coloring with the rainbow colors, and I basically have 3 Copic markers for each rainbow color, so 3 yellows, 3 red, 3 oranges, 3 blue, and so on. And I wanted to show you how I've made these 3 cards quite quickly, really, because I'm doing all the pieces at the same time, so you don't need to open the pen, close the pen, open the pen, close the pen, and so on. I just do all the 3 pieces of rainbow at the same time. I will do all the clouds at the same time, and it did save me a hell of a lot of time. So that's a good way to mass produce. 3 cards is not mass production, but making a few cards at once and saving time. So here you see me color all my pieces of rainbows, and I also colored the edges, which I only showed you I think for the first red color. I didn't show you for all of them because it's off camera anyway, so you wouldn't see it, but it does add a little bit of finish, and I think it does look nicer to do the edges. I then colored my clouds with some cool grey markers. I think it's C3 and C1 and the colorless blender. And I mean, it's very basic copy coloring, but it does add quite enough color that it does add depth to your card, although it's not necessarily, there's no not fun foam, sorry, foam tape at the back and so on, but it still gives dimension, so that's quite good. So here I finish all my pieces, so I've done them all at once because it's easier, and then I do all the backgrounds. So I use tumbled glass, and I just do some very basic ink blending or ink coloring all around my cards. And I mean, most of the card is going to be covered, but I do want a blue background to help my clouds pop out. So once I was done with that, I glued the clouds onto the card, and I used my little die frame, and I've put it through the die cutting machine. As you can see, it's a stitch die frame, which I think was from my favorite stamp. And I just leave it like that, and I start gluing my pieces of rainbow. So I glued the first one, I put the glue at the back and then placed it on the card, and then I used that piece to add the glue for the next piece of rainbow, and again I use the current piece of rainbow to add the glue, and so on. So I'm sure that it's perfectly aligned. I've tried in the past to glue the rainbow together and then add it onto the card, and it just doesn't work, or it didn't work for me at least. So I find that way is the best way to make sure that it's perfectly aligned. There's no gaps between the different colors. So I've done the same way for for each card, so I'll only show you once because it would be just repeating the same thing, but it's pretty easy. And once I was done, I added some work of Stella, obviously, and some glossy accent, and I did that before I glued it on the card because there's so much glossy accent. The paper is really warpy, and it will need quite a lot of glue to stick it onto the blank card, so just bear that in mind. Put the glossy accent beforehand. Then I used some Memento Tuxedo black ink, and I stamped my images and I started coloring. I tried to pick different color. I used the same stamps, pretty much stamped images, but I tried to use different color just to vary. At least I got the choice of colors. And here again, very basic copy coloring. I try to create a bit of dimension on the wheels by keeping it light in the middle and dark on the edges. And I do that for the little, I'm not sure how it's called, rattling, noisy thingy for babies. And you see, it's very basic Copic coloring, but you only need 3 different Copic markers, so it's quite easy. And if, like me, you have a limited amount of Copic markers, I think it works quite well to work with that basis of rainbow color. I have, let's say, the rainbow colors, so 7 colors and 3 markers for each, from dark, medium, and light. And I don't have hundreds of markers. I have a very limited amount, but it works really well. If you have these main colors, I find that you can do quite a lot of things. You need to add some brown and a bit of black, obviously, but you don't need to buy 100 markers. So yeah, that's how I do it, and maybe it will help you if you were thinking about buying them or investing in a few and things like that. So once I was done, once all my rainbows were dry, so that's the following day because it took ages to dry, I stamped my gritting. Unfortunately, it didn't stamp very well, so I had to go over it with a pen, but I thought the result was actually good, so that's fine. And then I used a cutting knife to cut my frame, and I added some foam tape because basically when I cut it on the card I want the frame to be raised against the middle of the card, and that's how I add the dimension onto my card. So it's not a lot of dimension, but it's just enough that it adds a little something onto the background. So here I put the middle of my card, and honestly, if I was to do it again, I would put much more glue. So just bear that in mind, as much glue as possible, because our rainbow is really warped the paper, sorry, and it really needs a lot of glue. So once I was done with that, I added my little stamped images and I glued them onto the rainbows and the clouds, and then I added some glossy accent, which was quite straightforward. So there's no, no difficult technique there, just a lot of glossy accent, which I need to purchase again because I'm running out. And I really love this card because I think it's so pretty. I don't know why, I just love how shiny the Wink of Stella is, and there's a glossy accent, and particularly for the rainbow, if there's somewhere you can put Wink of Stella and glossy accent, it's for a rainbow. You can see it on a close-up video with the light reflecting on it, it works great. I've decided to add a few stars because I just thought it could do with an extra little something. So I stamped my stars with some Memento Tuxedo Black again on some Nina Solar White card, a bit of scrap that I had left over from my previous die cutting, and I just used two or three different shades of yellow, and I added my stars onto my card, and that's it pretty much. It takes a lot of time to dry, so if you decide to go ahead with something like that, just think about letting it dry for quite a while just to make sure that it's set. And other than that, I think it's pretty straightforward. So I really hope you like it. I love these colors, and I think for children, for newborn babies, it works great. Yeah, I really like that card. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you did like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you would like to see the close-up video, please head over to my blog, and if you have any question or any nice comment you'd like to give, please feel free. Thanks again, bye!